You were like, I don't want to think about you ever again.
Yeah, and some of them were in 2015. That's not
You're
that
like,
long ago.
You're like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, why don't I remember you?
They disappeared. They're in the witness protection
I
program.
don't know. But I never got paid. They need to come quickly because I'm being fired on Sunday.
Okay.
You put her through Mr. Smith.
Oh, God. You were like, great,
And
thanks.
I went, now you tell me? It was also weird combined with cat. Okay, it was just...
Hi, y'all. Welcome to Hustle Humbly. It's Alyssa and Katie, and we are two top producing realtors in the Baton Rouge market.
We work for two different companies where we should be competitors, but we have chosen community over competition.
The goal of our podcast is to encourage you to find your own way in business.
So stop comparing yourself and start embracing your strengths.
All right. Whenever you're ready, my friend.
I'm ready.
Okay, great.
I'm just going down the rabbit hole.
Hi, Alyssa.
Hey, Katie.
Come back to us from your rabbit hole.
I'm coming back.
Okay, welcome back. This is episode 168. When you don't get paid.
Sometimes you just don't get paid.
Sometimes you don't get paid. So this is the story of expireds and withdrawns.
We're going to have just a good storytelling session.
It's probably
with some nuggets of wisdom.
More stories than we could ever fit into one episode.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. Okay, so where do you want to start?
Do beep.
It's a flip report?
It is a flip report.
Let's hear it.
So my buyer that I told you I've had in mind seems pretty interested. Remember the first time she went and looked at it?
Kind of like a
she
no.
was like, she was just like, I don't know. She was so disappointed about the one she just lost.
Okay.
Then she asked me to send her some updated photos when it was a little more finished.
Okay.
And she was like, oh, okay.
Now she sees it.
So she's like, can I go this weekend?
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to be out of town. And I said, well, look, you can go. I don't mind. Here's the code, here's the combo, here's the key.
Right.
She's like, can I bring my family? Can I measure? I said, all those things. Yes, do that. So she's going to do that.
Oh my gosh, this is exciting.
The contractor just got so much done really fast.
Good.
So it looks really good. So I think
it's a lot further than when she saw it before.
Oh yeah, pretty much everything is done except cabinet hardware.
Okay.
Mirrors in the bathroom.
Okay.
I am trying to find
the jewelry.
The jewelry. Yeah, the jewelry of the home. I need an L-shaped shower curtain that mounts from the ceiling.
Oh my goodness.
Very specific. I found one, but it's gold. And Whitney said, we can't do gold because it does not match everything else. And so she actually...
Can you spray paint it?
That's what I said. She said, we can, but we're not going to pay for the gold one and spray paint it. So she's going to have my contractor make it out of PVC pipe, and we're going to spray paint it, which is what most of them look like that industrial look.
Yes, okay,
you know?
sure. And not PVC.
Something
like a galvanized pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
Because PVC is plastic.
She mentioned PVC.
That feels wrong. But I can picture it as like a galvanized pipe.
Yeah, well, she sent me some photos, and it looks
great.
And it's apparently a thing. People do this. So the reason we can't get it into the wall is because I don't want to drill into my subway tile.
No doubt.
So we need a ceiling mat. And she's like, well, we could just not include a shower curtain rod. But I don't want people having trouble with vision because it's kind of like a weird bathroom situation where the wall that the shower hits is a half wall.
Okay.
So you either need to glass the whole thing.
And you're right, you don't want to do that.
Or have a shower curtain. And I don't want people to be like,
how do you do this?
How do you do this? I can't envision it. This is weird.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
That's what I'm looking for right now.
Perfect.
We can't find it.
That's an interesting problem.
I didn't think this shower curtain rod would be the problem.
Okay.
So she's going to go and we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I feel really good about it.
I'm so excited. Okay. Do.
Okay.
Flip report.
So I was looking back at my expireds and withdrawns over the last 11 years.
Okay.
You want to hear my numbers?
Please. Okay. How many expired? Are you going to tell me them separately?
Yes. So I do have a little bit of a method to my expireds.
Okay.
If I let you expire, that means I'm letting you go as a client.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
See you
because
later.
I know when you expire, there are going to be agents that pay for the expireds and call and market and say, I have a buyer, I can sell your house and make all the promises.
Right.
The agents that target expired listings.
And withdrawns.
But mostly expireds.
Yeah. So you let them expire on purpose.
I do. If I see one that is approaching expiring, but I know that we are not renewing, but we do still intend to sell it together, I withdraw them.
Yep.
So that way they don't expire. And I just feel like it does cut back a bit on the calls they get.
Right. Yeah.
So my numbers are, it kind of surprised me. I only had 7 that expired.
Okay.
But I had 44 withdrawn.
Well, okay. That's very interesting because in my 17 years, although my volume is less than yours, I had 9 expires.
Okay.
But I don't necessarily use your method, but still it's not very many. Like of the 9 expired, 2 of them I actually ended up selling, and a third one was a repeat of the other one. Like it had been on the market for a long time.
Okay,
and expired twice and then
Whoa.
sold. Okay.
That's a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
Did you have troubles when it was in the expired phase? Like why did you let it expire instead of renewing it?
Just because I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, okay.
If I had to guess.
Yes.
On that one. And that's the only one like that. The rest of these, like they either were like, well, at the end of the listing period, we're just going to like not sell it.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like some of them, these ended up getting rented.
Yes.
They're like, well, let's let the listing go and then I'll list it for rent. Like they, let it kind of run its course.
Right.
But 9 in 17 years, not so many. One of the 9 was a builder who wanted to be on the parade of homes, and it was his personal house, and he did a 1 month listing.
Oh.
It was never going to sell. Like,
how did he end up selling it?
he didn't. He still lives there.
Oh.
Like he wasn't planning to sell it, but he wanted it to be on the MLS to get people to see it and market it. And
oh, that's interesting.
And then
is that even allowed?
I mean,
would he have sold it? Like, did he put a price on it?
Honestly, he put a price on it. I think he would have sold it, but no one made an offer.
I see.
Okay, because it was a luxury home. It was over $1 million. Yes, I do think that he would have sold it, but it really was not the intention.
Yeah.
So that's one of the 9, and then one I sold, and then one, and some of these I don't remember.
Taking this trip down memory lane.
I'm like, I don't remember some of these.
I know. Some of them I didn't remember them at all. Like I was looking at the photos going,
you're like, what is this?
Who is this person?
Why did it expire? You blocked it out of your mind.
I guess.
You were like,
I truly did not remember.
You were like, I don't want to think about you ever again.
Yeah, and some of them were in 2015. That's not that long ago.
You're like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, why don't I remember you?
Why don't I remember you? Right. Well, I think you brought up a very important point, and the most important thing that I wanted tip-wise to share with people while we're doing these stories was if you're going to have a listing that you're withdrawing for a reason, or even if it accidentally expires or it's about to expire, or for some reason they want it to expire, but they're planning to relist it in a month, a year, whenever, you need to put in big, bold letters in the public remarks and in the realtor remarks, seller intends to relist with current agent in 30 days, in whatever. Please do not contact seller. And I put it in the public remarks too.
Yeah.
Because the agents who do work expireds and withdrawns tend to be a little aggressive.
Yes.
And the harassment, it's purely harassment, y'all, that ensues.
I had a seller one time that when I went back to relist, she handed me a stack of postcards and letters, and she said she was exhausted when she put them on the table. She said the first day I checked my mail after we were expired, I had so many, and then the next day I had more, so I just started keeping them just for fun, like, look at this madness. She said, but listen, that doesn't even include the phone calls. She's like, how are they getting my information? And I'm like, it's not from me.
No. I've had clients who have had a 12-year-old kid's phone called, a grandmother's phone called. Any person who had ever lived in that address and had a phone number, these reverse lookup systems.
Find it.
Yes. And I mean, y'all, of all the behaviors that agents do, that is the one that makes me the most embarrassed for our industry.
Yeah.
That behavior of, look, I understand you're just one person. Maybe you're only one person making one call. But if you put it in context, if that listing was withdrawn yesterday or expired yesterday, just imagine 50 other agents doing exactly what you're doing. And some of them maybe not with such nice intentions.
Right,
some are very pushy. Some will not. Some will call multiple times. Like some are really, here are my air quotes, working it like hard, right?
And I think that's some of the behavior that gives realtors a bad reputation.
For sure.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have to withdraw a listing, those more than expireds probably. If you're letting it expire in your case, it's because you're like, fine, call. We're not going to work together.
Yes, I don't mind.
But what if you have a seller like mine who's like, well, let's just let it run its course, and after it expires, I'm going to leave it off the market for 6 months.
I just withdraw it like the day before.
You do?
I do. If I'm trying to I feel like it does cut back a good amount.
Okay, so that's good. That's a good tip.
Yeah.
So just withdraw it.
Yeah, that's what I do.
All right, I like that.
So of my 44 withdrawn, I sold a lot of them after that. We ended up relisting. Sometimes like a few of them I had listed for sale or for lease at one point.
Right. Oh, I've had lots of those.
And then they lease out, so you withdraw the listing.
Yeah, you have to withdraw
and then we listed it again, and then it leased again, and so I had a bunch of that. I had a bunch, well, not a bunch, but a handful of withdrawals after our flood.
Oh yeah,
because you can do temporarily off market status, but in our market that's only 30 days. And you know what I didn't realize? It automatically
puts it back active.
And so I had a house where we were under contract, and they had a home inspection that went somewhat poorly. We had an issue with the chimney and the stucco around the chimney. The buyers backed out, even though my sellers are like, we're going to fix it. But we had to fix it before we put it back on the market. So I did it temporarily off market while the roof and chimney was getting repaired. And then one Saturday, I'm just having a family day, and my phone just like blows up. And this was in, the crazy time of the real estate market. And everyone's calling me about this house on Main Street. And I'm like, why are you calling me about this house? And they're like, well, you just listed it. And I'm like, oh no. Would you know? I'm telling everybody, I'm like, stop, listen, it's not show ready. This is we don't care. We don't care. We just want to go. And someone bought it.
Because of that accident.
So,
okay, it wasn't all bad.
No, that one wasn't bad at all.
Oh my gosh.
But it was just so crazy. Also, I had this lady who had an LSU condo, and we were on the market for almost 2 years. It was just during a time before this crazy market that we just came out of, where, I mean, for a while, if you have an LSU condo to sell, you're going to be selling it for pretty close to what you paid for it.
Okay, sure. Right,
because we have so much housing around LSU. Who wants a 30-year-old condo?
Yeah.
Not many people. Also, the HOAs are not super great about keeping the grounds looking wonderful.
Right.
So that one I actually let expire.
Okay.
No one called her.
You're like, meh.
They're like, we don't want it. And then we relisted it on and off. And then one time we withdrew it.
Okay.
It was at like the 325 day mark.
Oh, right.
And we were entering a new school semester. So we had just, if we were going to sell this year,
you would have.
We would have. Now nobody's looking. So I said, listen, so in our market, you have to take it off the market for 90 days.
For it to reset.
To reset the days on market.
Right.
So I said, listen, let's just withdraw it. Nobody's looking at it. We're not going to sell right now.
Yeah.
In 90 days, we'll be entering when people are kind of looking again for like the next semester. we'll maybe do some light staging, take some new photos, and get a new price.
Yeah.
And so we did, and it still sat for a little while. I did eventually sell it, but when I was looking through my withdrawns and expired, that address just kept like coming up.
And I was
like, oh man, I forgot how like how much mental energy that took.
Well, it does take a lot of mental energy when you have something that's kind of dragging on. And look, I don't know if you were around, because you're right. That MLS number, the days on market, doesn't reset for us for 90 days. So, but I was here when it did reset for 1 minute. Like if you pulled it withdrawn and relisted it that day.
Wow.
So a lot of people used that method to freshen a listing, right?
I think the 90-day method is probably good.
Oh, I agree. It removes that, like, because really it was a way to manipulate the market before, right?
Yeah.
Like you could pull it off for a day, a minute, whatever, put it right back on, get a new MLS number, fresh days on the market. Maybe buyers who've entered the market and were ignoring an old stale listing would think it was new. Ideally, if you're going to use that method, you would want to probably change the photos or change the price, change something so that it would populate. But I still have, and everyone used that method. Like it was very common to see listings withdrawn and back in, withdrawn and back in. I mean, like it was just a common practice. And then I think when they changed the rule, it really was to eliminate that manipulation of the market. And so now what we have is CDOM. So what is it, like
consecutive days on market?
Right. So that even works if maybe they fire their agent and they hire another agent and they put it right back on the market. Well, it's going to say consecutive days on the market, 200, not 0.
Yeah.
Like even because you changed your agent, you've still been trying to sell this house.
Right.
This house was on the market. We're no dummies. We know that it was on the market. So it was an interesting time when people used to do that. Now, do I still have reasons why I need to withdraw a listing and maybe I take it off for a week while a seller paints? Or you could use temporarily off market now, but I think there are some rules, right?
Yeah.
For what you can do. But if you withdraw it from the market as a means to then you're going to stage it, right? And then you're going to take new photos. I would also like adjust the price a little, even if it's $500, $1,000, even if you go up a little on the price. That's the other thing people don't always think about. Why do you automatically have to go down? If you took the house off the market and did $10,000 of interior painting, you don't have to go up $10,000, but maybe you go up $5,000.
Right.
And then when people get the new listing, they may not even realize it was already on the market.
I think if you're going to actually remove it from being active and withdraw it, the more changes you can make, the better.
Yes.
Price, description, photos, rearrange things. I mean, anything you can do, because you already know the first launch didn't go. So now let's just do anything you don't want to do the exact same thing.
No, don't do the same thing. I'm looking through my list of withdrawns. There is at least one really mean seller on here who was just not nice. They didn't like how things were going. They lived in an older, like a 50-year-old or more house in a very popular neighborhood, but it had so many challenges. Like the house, like the floor plan was not good. The master bathroom was teeny. There was no way to really fix it, but the type of buyers that were in that neighborhood were looking for like a real, large primary bathroom. And I'm like, we went through all kinds of things, like getting drawings made of a potential renovation and this and that. And I mean, like bringing in the stager and really like doing all of this, moving all the furniture around and really I worked so hard and they just could not be satisfied because it wouldn't sell. And it wasn't me. It was definitely the house. And they fired me and I had to withdraw it.
How did that conversation go?
It was horrible.
Really?
Oh, it was terrible.
Did he call you? What did he do?
I feel like the wife was more the communication person than the husband.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to look at it was 2014. So it's been so long since this happened. I do remember going to pick up the sign in the lockbox and just feeling like so
icky.
small and embarrassed and like such a failure. And like I did everything I could. They just thought it was me. Like I was terrible. I don't actually know if I really followed up to see if I don't think they relisted it. I think they stayed for a lot longer. But it was horrible.
Yeah, that's no.
And at the same time, as horrible as I felt, within a couple of days, I'm like, I don't have to have them pressuring me anymore.
Yes.
They don't have to be yelling at me. They don't have to be upset. I don't have to be nervous to give them the same feedback again. Like, just.
You were released.
I was released.
It's hard. When I was looking at my stuff, so many of the withdrawns and expireds were in my first few years because I was just, I'll take anything. I'm not going to know how to tell you what to do to make it look better.
Right.
I wasn't giving a lot of guidance. And so they weren't selling. You know, there were times where it wasn't selling.
Mm-hmm.
I had one guy. Oh, this is funny. If you listen to our For Sale by Owner episode and my spreadsheet, okay? Here's another train wreck waste of time that came from that when I never got paid, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Also, my little blurb here is that even through all of these I didn't get paid stories that we're telling today, the mental toughness that developed and the experience and learning how to deal with difficult people, difficult houses, I mean, it's invaluable.
Right. You know, I feel like I should have also printed the list of houses that were on the market an insane amount of time.
Oh, yeah.
But I did sell.
Right.
Y'all, those feel like just as much of failures.
I know. I have one of those failures.
So during the train wreck time,
So during the train wreck time, there was like this gorgeous For Sale by Owner.
Okay.
It was like, you know, 600,000. And it was on my favorite street.
Like,
I just loved it.
I need this house.
So I just called them and, you know, started. And I said, I have to tell you, I just love your house.
Oh, right.
And they're like, yeah? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I love this area. And I think it was like at this point, I had made so many phone calls.
Okay.
I was not, you know, having to super pep talk myself.
You were just like, I'm used to
I don't
this.
care. If you would like to reject me, fine. I just want to tell you how much I love your house. Yeah.
Fair. Okay.
And he was like, well, would you like to come see it? And I was like, sure. I would love to see it in person, you know?
Okay.
So I met with them and like I got to meet his children and his wife, and like they were so kind.
You thought this went so well.
It did. And again, I don't really care. I'm like, they're not gonna list with me because you're number, you know, 83.
Right.
So I know how this goes.
I know how this
I
goes.
have been in about 17 homes at this time, and I know that. So then they're like, I wrote them a letter thanking them for the tour, and you know, I'll keep it in mind.
Right.
Well, then they reached out to me and were like, hey, look, it's not selling. We would like to list it. And I still never really understood why. And I never asked because I was too scared and new. But they were like, we would like it. We don't really want like a sign in the yard. And we don't really.
But they had a For Sale by Owner sign in the yard?
No.
Okay.
It was on the internet.
Okay.
And they were like, but we don't know that we necessarily want it on MLS. And I was like, I don't understand.
What do you want me to do then?
Yeah, I don't. What? And they were like, and so I talked to my broker and she was like, you could try doing an office exclusive.
Okay.
So only our office can see it.
Did they tell you why they didn't?
No.
Are we getting to that?
I never found out.
You never found out.
I listed it, and as office, I got photos done. They got it photo ready.
Okay.
I looked it up. It was on the market 243 days as an office exclusive.
I just don't understand.
And I did have a few showings, and whenever I would hear a realtor do like, hey guys, this is what I'm looking for.
You would tell them.
I would tell them. I did an office tour.
Okay.
I never really understood. They were super nice, but I just feel like maybe not forthcoming.
Right.
Something was
They
not
didn't
told.
want everyone to know their house was for sale.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. It
but
was
they
very
didn't.
strange.
That's so strange.
So it expired and I just let it be. And, you know, I think I followed up periodically, but after like 2 years, I just called it. Well, in preparation of this episode, I emailed the husband.
You did
I was
not.
like, because I looked it up in MLS.
What?
I looked it up in MLS and it was never I was like, I wonder whatever happened to those people, you know? So I looked it up. It was never listed or, I even like, there was no public record that like Zillow auto generates of a sale.
Yes.
So I sent him an email. I was like, hey, I know this is so random. I was just thinking about your house and how y'all were doing. How are the kids? How's your family? And it was like, this is no longer a working email address. So
they disappeared. They're in the witness protection program.
I don't know. I don't know what happened.
They're long gone.
But I never got paid.
Right. You never got paid.
I did 243
days of work.
And many more than that.
Yeah.
And office tours and paid for photos. Right. And I think I paid for refreshments for the office tour.
Yep.
I mean, I lost some money and I'm still a little baffled, to be honest.
You're like, what happened here?
What happened?
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. I am still curious and I really liked them, but they were odd, I guess.
There was something amiss.
Yeah.
For sure. Hey, Alyssa.
Hey, Katie.
What do we mention almost every episode?
Email templates.
You're right. We sure do. And after every time we mention an email template, do you know what we get?
Emails asking if they can have copies of the email template.
Can you send me a copy of that template? I have never had one like that. That sounds great. And you know what the good news is?
What?
You can get all of our email templates from our course, Email Templates 101. Tell the people about it.
Our course has all of the email templates you would need to send to your buyers and your sellers and your clients that are buying and selling at the same time.
Exactly.
To get through every step of the transaction and giving them information that they need for where they are in the transaction.
It's great because you never forget to tell them something.
Yes, and we've already done all the work for you.
Yeah.
We wrote them and you can personalize them.
Yes.
And just feel organized knowing that you have all the information where it needs to be.
And if you purchase Email Templates 101, you do get lifetime access. So occasionally we like to go in and make updates based on the market or if we find a new best practice and we put that right into the template and you get that updated straight away.
It just goes straight to your course.
Yep. Right. It's just there. It's
just
already in there.
It's just
already in there. You don't even have to worry about it. We'll send you an email and we'll say updated.
That's great. Where can they find these email templates?
You can find the email templates at emailtemplates101.com.
Emailtemplates101.com.
Yes, head over for reviews and all of the specifics.
Wonderful.
Okay, enjoy. I just pulled up my homes that have been on the market that I sold for longer than 150 days.
Oh.
So, you work hard for these. There are 9.
Oh, that's a good number. I'd probably have a much higher.
Well, one of them was my biggest listing ever. Remember, this one started off in the $2 million range.
Oh, yes.
Inevitably, eventually sold.
How long did that one take?
4 years. 4 years. And I showed up for every showing because it was a luxury listing. I had to be there for every showing. And let me tell you, when someone calls you with a qualified buyer who wants to see your biggest listing ever, you drop everything and you go. And this is the kind of house that takes at least an hour to tour. So I was there for hours. Oh I had to turn on, I counted it one time and I think did a video. There were 72 light switches. So every showing I had to turn on 72 light switches, and every showing I had to turn off 72 light switches because they weren't living there anymore because I made them leave. They had a house that they were moving to, but they were like, should we show it while we're living here? I'm like, no, hard pass. Like their furniture was way too style specific. The curtains were style. Everything.
So where did they live for 4 years?
They had bought a new construction home. Like they were downsizing out of this home. But when I mean to tell you, the wife was not pleased that they had moved. She loved the property, and having it as a thorn in your side, still part of you have to mow it and take care of it.
That utility bill.
4 years. I mean, thankfully,
they never fired you.
They never fired. He was so kind to me. He was so kind. He was the nicest seller I have ever had. He knew how hard I was working. I think he knew how grateful I was for the listing. But it was a lot of work. And yes, the paycheck was the biggest one I've ever gotten. But
probably your lowest by hour.
Gotta be for 4 years.
Yeah.
I went, I forced agents to come see it, like agent tours, like luxury agents.
Yeah.
I did everything I could think of.
Right.
Because I'm like, I gotta sell this house.
So interesting.
I mean, it sold. I got paid. but I didn't get paid all the 3 to 3, almost 4 years until it sold.
That it kind of reminds me of one. It was a bigger, it was like 700,000.
That's big for our market.
Yeah, it is. And this was recently, and it was a referral from a good friend. And he was like, look, he's tried to sell it himself. It's not going well. I told him, he has to call you. And so I went on the listing interview, and they were okay. I liked them. They were kind of dry. I think that's why I liked them. But I gave them definitely some things to do, and they did, and we took photos, and it was almost like they were counting down the days until they could fire me.
Oh.
They were like, how long is our listing agreement? 6 months. So what day does that fall on? And I was like, oh my gosh, I did so many open houses.
Oh no.
I did so much with that house. I live by it. And they would go out of town. They were moved out of state.
Okay.
She would come in at times, but they had like animals like in the pasture.
Oh, right.
Horses and cows.
I remember.
So I would sometimes, because she would want me to go check on them. So I'd grab a bag of carrots, and me and the kids would go feed the horse and check on everyone and make sure everything's good.
Oh my word.
But they were just always so aggravated with the feedback, and it was a lot of the same feedback, and we had a lot of showings, and she would get so mad because someone didn't lock the door the right way. It's like a tricky door with 7 steps.
Once they're aggravated, everything sets them off.
They hated me. I just knew it. And so then I was counting down the days.
You're like, I just want to be done with this.
And then an agent in our market called me like the week it was going to expire.
Right.
And showed it. And I really wasn't even, I was like, this isn't, it's just another showing that when they get here, they're going to say it's too old.
Yeah.
And he called me and he was like, hey, they really love it. They want to come back with the family.
Oh, you're like, oh.
And I was like, well, but here's the thing. I still wasn't excited because I was like, people always want to come back with the family. And then the dad says, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. So I said, listen, they need to come quickly because I'm being fired on Sunday.
Okay. Look, we don't know what's going to happen after that.
They are not going to relist with me. I don't know what they're doing, but they have been counting down the days of when they can withdraw it. And he said, okay, let me see. And so we got an offer.
Oh my word.
And it wasn't the best offer, but it was the first offer we had ever gotten.
For the whole, how long?
And I had nothing to lose.
Right?
Yeah, I had nothing to lose. So I said, listen, y'all, this is the reality of your situation. And you can fire me. That's fine. You can relist it with someone else. But I'm telling you, you're not going to get a better offer.
No.
You're just not. And so we countered. And then he was like, so we came to an agreement. We're pending. And I couldn't believe it.
Shocking.
And he said, hey, I have a question now that we're pending. I said, okay. He said, we close October 19th.
Okay.
I said, yeah. He said, but the contract expires on October 1st.
Your listing agreement?
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter.
That's what I said. I'm like, so what are you getting at? Are you trying to, you know what I mean? That's how
he was trying not to pay you.
I don't know. But I did have to call my broker because I'm like, do they expire if they go pending?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I had to figure that out.
So the wording of the listing agreement, I think, is what covers this.
Okay.
So in our listing agreement, it basically says once you're under contract, that
you see it through.
It goes through because you're basically on that contract now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
But you know what I learned a lot?
So wait, did you get paid?
I did.
Okay, good.
You know what I learned from it though? We closed. They were so aggravated,
Gosh.
They were mad at me and what's weird is the listing consult went so well. And I was like, I like her.
Back then.
She's a little dry, but so am I. I like her. I like her style.
Right.
But the whole listing was just, they never had anything nice to say.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And then at the closing, they were even just like unhappy with the price and paying me. But after we closed, I did have all of their listing photos
made
put
into
in a
the book.
And I had several photos of the horse and the cow that I put at the end of the book from like all my visits there.
Right, with your carrots.
And she just sent me the nicest email about how wonderful I was and how hard I mean, I do think once it's over, they're like, they are thankful. Yeah. And they are, it's like sometimes you have to you just can't take it super personal.
Your job is to be the designated punching bag.
Yes.
They hate the process. They hate the showings. They hate the offer. They hate the feedback. Their feelings are getting hurt every day that they're trying to sell this house.
Right.
Maybe they're even selling it for some reason that they don't want to go. They're having financial trouble. They're getting divorced. Someone has died. Like, you are the punching bag. You're the person who has to take it because they're not happy.
Right.
I mean, and of course, there are limits. We have heard about
my
mean seller over and over again, the one that yelled at me because too many people came to his inspection.
And if at some point you feel verbally abused, you don't have to take that at all. But if they're just being hard on you, don't go home and cry.
Well, you just can't take it personally. Like, it's not a reflection. If you know that you're doing your job and you know that you're doing the best that you can, and especially if you know that it's the price or the house or something that you can't control, well, I mean, you can also fire your clients.
Yes.
You don't want them to be mean to you anymore? Say goodbye. But I did actually make a note of that. So like when we're talking about when you don't get paid, here's some of the other ways that you can fail or you might end up with an expired or withdrawn property. When the seller says something like, I don't have to sell, and then they pick that price that makes no sense at all, and you're like, okay, I really want the listing. Fine. Well, they're going to work you as if there's a chance they're actually going to sell the house. And you might know from the very beginning,
right,
this price is never going to sell this house. That big giant cell phone tower in the backyard is just going to be a deal breaker for no matter who comes. And I don't know that I'm going to be able to deal with this for the next 6 months of and that's the other thing. If you're not the type of person who can break up with a seller, you're stuck with them for 6 months, a year.
Right.
No thanks. No, and not getting paid. And they keep wanting you to do more, spend more time here, come do more open houses. Like, that's all you spending your time without getting paid.
You know what's funny too is after this closed, finally, so I was also a little self-conscious the whole transaction. Like, are they talking to my friend that referred them?
Oh.
Are they talking bad about me
to
my
friend?
Referral.
Oh, I hate that.
So I was feeling a little self-conscious.
Right.
But I never brought it up. And I see this friend at church every Sunday. I never brought it. When I first listed it, I was like, hey, thank you so much. It's live. It's a great property. But then I never said anything about it at church ever. And then 6 months later, to the dot, when it sold, I went to him and his wife was next to him and I said, hey, thank you so much for the referral. I just want to let you know that we closed. I said it was a rough road and a, very unique property, but it's done and, the goal was accomplished. And the wife was like, wait, who was that? Because it was his friend from work. And he was like, oh, Mr. Smith. And she goes, you put her through Mr. Smith?
Oh, God. You were like, great,
and
thanks.
I went, now you tell me?
Right. Like a little heads up.
Yeah.
Would have been nice.
Yeah. But when she said that, I went, oh, so this is like a thing.
Oh, I have had more than one person refer to me and something like that happens. The transaction's rough. It takes a while to sell, whatever. I feel terrible because they've referred me and I'm like so embarrassed. And then you see them later and you're like, exactly that. It's sold. We're done, whatever. And they're like, I'm so sorry. Are you mad at me? Like, they're really hard to deal with. And I'm like, thanks a bunch. And then you have to be like, no, of course not.
Right.
All referrals are welcome. And then I'm like, why would you do this to me?
I know.
Why would you do this to me? But it is kind of funny because it wasn't the way you thought at all in their eyes. They were like, oh, you survived.
Right. Exactly.
Barely. 5 days.
I had one of my first listings ever was a friend of my dad somehow. And I was a new agent and this house was near where I grew up and it was their family home and it was the weirdest house.
Oh gosh.
And it was also weird combined with cat. Okay, it was just
like it smelled.
Yeah, it was just I'll have to share some photos this week on Instagram of this strange listing.
Yeah,
It was very unique. Now, the photos are not as bad, but when you walk through, you see that the tiled ceiling is not great. There has been leaks. It's just not a good situation. So it was on the market with me for 366 days. And I let it expire.
Goodbye.
And I think in the end, I had just told them. What's weird is in the beginning, I was so excited and I held many open houses. So many open houses. I was new. I just was so excited to have a listing. And I can even remember this lady. She was like a prophet, but she was wrong.
She was a prophet.
But she like came and was just like, this is just the coolest house.
Okay.
And she was like, I mean, it's definitely not for us, but listen, you are going to sell this house. And I just remember being like,
thank you, ma'am.
Wow.
She lied to you.
Was wrong. She was a false prophet.
You did not get paid.
So anyways, I kind of was I let it go and they did list with somebody else.
Okay.
And I was kind of just it was my first time to ever see someone else's sign replace my
You're
own.
like, oh, that stings.
It did sting. And
did
then,
it sell?
And then it didn't sell.
Well,
and then they rented it. And I thought, this is an awful idea because the house needs repair.
Oh gosh.
It was borderline not livable anymore. And so the tenants were very short-lived.
Right.
And then I was waiting on it to get relisted. I kept watching it. And then one day it was gone. The house was gone.
The whole thing?
The whole thing.
Wait.
Someone must have bought it like off market, like approached them. And tore it down.
Oh, my word.
And now there is this gigantic luxury home.
Shut up.
On the lot.
You're like, okay.
Whoa.
I didn't think to market it like that.
No. I don't. And this was probably 3 or 4 years after I had it listed because they had it listed, then they had some tenants, and then they had it listed. So it was some time after. But I think what triggered that is that 2 houses down was just an empty lot that someone built.
And then it was like,
this giant luxury home.
Was it rural? Where?
No, it was like right by town center.
Oh my. Well, of course.
Yeah. But it was down Old Hammond. So, you know. But I was like, I think when someone was the first person
someone else has to take the
risk.
Yeah.
People were like,
sure.
Well, if they built a luxury home, maybe I'll build a luxury home.
Right here. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, I never got paid.
I
did learn a bit about being talked down to by a man that talked down to me specifically because I was a woman.
Nope, thanks.
So learned a little bit about that there.
Nope.
But yeah, that was interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah, I've had a few on mine that were like, you do both. Like you list it as a house and a lot, and then obviously one of those ends up having to be withdrawn whenever you sell. So those don't really count. Okay, do you want to hear a good story?
Yeah.
It is actually a bad story for someone else, but a good story for me. Okay. So we're going to go with it. Okay, so I took a listing. I got a referral in 2018 from a past client who had actually also referred me to the dad, and so I worked with this was the aunt. Okay, the aunt's house had just expired. It was already off market. It wasn't like she called while she's like, listen, my house didn't sell. 2018, I mean, it wasn't like a scary time. It's like a lot of the ones on my list of expireds are from 2011, 2010.
Right. Hard times.
Hard times. So I'm like, all right. And so I look at the listing. I can just see all of the things that are wrong. Okay. I'm like, this is a prime candidate for some good staging. Well, she calls and she's like so upset. She's like, we have relocated to be near our children. We're out of state. I thought my agent was like going to check on the house, but we just came in now that it's expired because they were like, we've got to figure something out. She's like, the flower beds are filled with weeds. The back patio has weeds growing up in between the stones. She's like, it just looks terrible. And she never told us. She's like, we would have sent a landscaper or like a maintenance part, like we assumed that she was our representative of this home and that she would tell us if people saw it, even in showings, and been like, this is what's going on. Or like, it looks, she was so upset that her home that she lived in and cared for looked so bad and she had no clue. Okay. So I'm like, well, don't worry. We can, get through all of this. It had expired at $282,000. Okay. And so I'm like, well, listen, I'm looking at your house. You need to paint the interior. It's too many style specific colors. We're going to paint the main living part. I think we even left like the old builder brown in the bedrooms because I think the house was built in maybe 2002. Okay. So it's just that time frame period here where by 2018, people are like, we're done with this. Yeah. We want it to be gray or white or whatever, but we don't want it to be brown.
Right.
Okay. No brown, no builder brown. So I'm like, we're going to paint the main area. It was an open floor plan, nice, beautiful wood floors, these old, yucky builder plain light fixtures in the dining room and over the kitchen sink and in, I think that was it, those two, and then the foyer. And it was an open floor plan. I'm like, look, we're going to take these 3 light fixtures down. I'll get a handy. In fact, I made my husband hang new ones. I'm like, I'll run to the Lowe's. So they were like, we're leaving again. We're going back out of town. Like, we don't live here. And we're so upset because the house needs all of this work. I'm like, no problem. I have a painter. I have someone who can do the landscaping. Now, the landscaping costs them $2,500.
Yeah,
painting
that's
in that
a lot.
main area costs them like $2,500. I got them some light fixtures at Lowe's for probably less than $500. 3 light fixtures, and Jay popped them up there for me. It looked so much better. Paint literally in the main area, light fixtures, clean landscape. That's it. It looked so much better. We listed it. So they expired at $282. We listed it $289. And I believe we had multiple offers.
Whoa.
So it was on the market for a full 6 months previous and did not sell. Now, I do think, to be fair, I will throw in this caveat. They had it under contract once while it was listed, but then the buyer couldn't get their financing, and at that point the agent stopped communicating with them. I think she was just like, "Ooh, it's been so long, things are failed." They moved out of the house because it was under contract. That's the rest of the story. Okay, so it was under contract. They move away. Now they're like devastated. The agent is embarrassed, or upset, or doesn't want to like probably contact them anymore. No. So it was a total success for me and the seller, thankfully. But the story is it expired, and they were most upset that their agent hadn't been communicating with them. Not that it didn't sell, not that they needed to do work to it. They're like, oh, really? She never told us this. I'm like, you got to paint this. And they were like, really? And I'm like, yeah.
In that note, here's a story of where I thought I was going to get paid. I had these relocation buyers coming into town, and they had to buy a home that weekend. It was a requirement. Okay?
Right. Got to do it.
I was newer. We saw 19 homes. It was the worst day ever. I mean, I was so tired.
I had no doubt.
And hungry. And my feet hurt, and I was just like, here's this house by the end of it, but I really loved the people.
Okay.
The husband was hilarious. They were so funny. They kept joking, like, is this the most houses you've ever showed in one day?
Yes,
I'm like, sure. Maybe to one buyer ever,
Right.
And they bought one, and it was a very nice one, and I even made them a certificate at closing as like
Most
an
houses
award.
viewed.
Yes, because he kept bringing that up over and over.
Stop.
So it was just like I just loved the family.
God, so
okay.
fun. Okay.
So they ended up actually getting a little bit of water in their home in the 2016 flood.
Okay.
So they had to do some renovation.
Okay.
Everything was fine after that. No big deal.
Okay.
A few years after that, they're getting relocated back.
Okay.
Relocation requires you to interview more than one agent, even if you know who your agent is going to be. So they call me. They're like, Alyssa, of course, we need you to come sell our house. I'm like, yes, I can't wait to see you guys.
So exciting.
I have missed you guys. And they're like, of course, we're going to like use you, but we do have to talk to other people. I'm like, no problem. Okay.
Right.
So we go, I walk in the door and he's like, you want a beer? And I'm like, no, thank you. But thank you for the offer. Like they're just old friends reunited.
Right.
We walk through and listen, they had painted the whole house brown after the renovation.
Yeah, they're like, this
and
is
this
good.
is like 2018.
Right. You're like, no brown.
What? And
Why?
and the decor was, because I never saw their decor before. They were buyers.
Was it like Kirkland's? Like,
yeah, it was just, it was a lot.
okay.
Fake floral everywhere you could put it. It was just not the style that I was hoping it would be.
No.
So we walked through. Everything's great. At the end, I'm like, listen, I think this could be our price. Great. Awesome. I'm like, now look, I do think it would help if we removed some of the floral. And, I'm not telling you that I think we need to paint, but I think we are going to get feedback on it. And it was like, I had just taken a sword and stabbed it in their heart. They were like, really?
They were so insulted.
I said, well, I think it looks great. But in this market, people are just so into gray right now. Gray and white, gray and white. Everything's gray and white. I don't get it. Ew, gray and white. I like brown. I was like trying to do damage control.
You were like backpedaling.
100%.
You're like, it's not me. It's the market.
Yeah, what? Because I was not expecting it. And she was like, do you know how much money we paid after the flood to like get this house back together and to get it painted? And I'm like,
okay.
Okay. I said, listen, on this stupid relocation form that I have to fill out for your property, they require me to put recommendations. I am not allowed to leave the recommendations part blank. I am going to put that I recommend some light decluttering and possible painting, but you do not have to repaint your home. I'm not telling you to do that. I am just telling you that it may be something that comes up in the feedback. And they're like, okay, we understand.
Okay.
Then I get an email like 5 days later, Alyssa, we're so sorry that we are going to be listing with another agent. And I was floored. I just was so caught off guard and so surprised. I didn't say anything at first because I needed a minute to like process this. And so finally I sent her an email back and I said, listen, I have to tell you, I've been kind of down on myself since you let me know that you weren't choosing me. I was very surprised because I just love you guys. I said, I hope I didn't come off as too casual because we have become friends. Like, I hope that.
Right.
I said, I don't know what the reason was that I didn't get chosen, but I hope I wasn't treating it as a friend meeting instead of a professional real estate listing interview. I said, I was just so happy to see y'all. And I just wanted to apologize if I did anything wrong. And she said, no, it wasn't that. Honestly, we could just tell you were not happy with how the house looked. And when I tell you my delivery was not that way, it was not that way.
They just took it that way.
Yeah. And they were like, the other agent just like raved about our paint color.
Shut up.
And then it listed and it didn't have professional photos or anything. I was appalled.
And so they didn't declutter, de-floral, de-paint.
And it sold, I think, for a good bit less than what I could have gotten for it. They didn't care too much because relocation buys the house from them.
Right.
But it was such like a shocking experience for me,
Oh, that's
crazy.
terrible.
I know. It was so sad. I'm like, I guess I'll delete them off my database.
I think you're going to have to.
I did.
You hurt their feelings.
I did.
Your hatred of
and
brown.
Then they hurt my feelings.
Well, there you go.
I just never thought it would go this way.
You're officially broken up now. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I just knew. I had the photographer like scheduled.
You should have shared that information with the listing agent.
Right. Because, hey, obviously you need a photographer.
They didn't think it was necessary.
Anyway.
Oh, that hurts. I'm sorry.
It did. It's okay.
I'm really sorry. You did but that's the thing. As long as you're true to how you would have given the advice to anyone, you can't
I was.
You can't know how people are going to take that.
But it's so funny because I just had another. So I don't do relocation anymore.
Good call.
Like I don't like it. I don't like the form. I don't like how much of our money they take. I don't do it. But if you are a past client and you have a house that I know will sell quickly, I will do it for you.
Yeah, it's a favor.
Right. Now, if it's a house I sold you, no matter how much I love you, if it's a weird house, I'm not doing it.
No.
Because the forms you have to fill out over and over and over again, it's very difficult. But this client called me and they were like, hey, Lisa, we're relocating. We do have to go through a relocation company. Like, we know we're going to use you, but we have to interview other agents. And I just was like, I've heard this before. No, but I did go on the interview. I kept it very professional.
Right.
I commented none on anything that was negative or anything that I didn't like. And of course, they were like, you know, they never were once tempted to not use me because they just knew.
But I mean, they're different people. You could have been like, this paint color isn't going to work. And they would have been like, okay.
Oh, wow. Good to know. Thanks for telling us.
Yeah, but why are people so emotionally attached to their paint color anyway?
I don't know.
That would not be the first time that's happened to me or you, where you said, I think we'll need to do a more neutral color. And they're like, what? This is neutral. Right. Or this one. A designer picked these colors.
Oh, that's the worst.
And I'm like, they did a great job.
Was your designer Dr. Seuss?
Right.
Because that's what your house looks like.
Or like every room is a different color. Like, that's not good.
I know.
And it's not expensive to fix, depending.
Right. You could just do the main rooms that are the most important.
I think you just have to realize that there's going to be some people that aren't going to want your opinion on their house. Right. Even though it's your job to give it.
Yes.
Okay, how about, I wanted to, before we end the how you don't get paid, we only really talked about listings.
Well, I was going to say, we need to do a how you don't get paid buyer's edition.
Buyer's edition. Because there are a lot of ways you don't get paid with the buyer as well.
So many ways you don't get paid.
A lot of them are your fault, though.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you didn't get them pre-approved?
Right.
You didn't actually know anything about their loan type?
You didn't tell them never call a for sale by owner? You didn't send them the buyer rules before?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't explain to them what happens at a builder's model home?
Yeah.
Like, well, that's on you. Like, hey, did your buyer decide they had to rent because they just had a bankruptcy?
Right.
Like, what?
Oh, you didn't know that?
Yeah.
At least the hard thing about listings is that you got the job.
Exactly. And you still didn't get paid.
And you didn't get paid.
And I love, there are some agents that are really good at that soundbite that's like, I don't get paid until I sell your home. Mm-hmm. Like, our goal is the same. I don't make money until you make money, or like whatever their soundbite is. I've never been good at that one. But you're right. You did all the work and you got the job and you still didn't get paid.
Sometimes it happens, guys.
It just does.
Just take it as a really good learning experience and just keep a smile on your face.
I'm pleasantly surprised that in 17 years, I had 9 expireds and 32 withdrawns. And when I look through them, a good bit of them I still actually sold.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't like that many failures. But let me tell you what else. You're going to love this story and then we can move on. There was a sweet agent who I'm still friends with from my last office who one day told me and another agent she was having trouble with the listing and it was going to expire or something to that effect. And she's like, I just don't know what to do. I'm like so upset. And she's like, I've never failed before. And we're like, what do you mean you've never failed before? You've never had a single expired or withdrawn property ever? She'd been doing it for years.
Welcome to real estate.
I was like, I can't buy this. Like, we had to go look it up. I was like, you just are like so upset about this particular incident. You're like, I've never failed before. I'm like, but you have. You just block all that out of your mind.
Right.
You're like, you know what? I can't even remember these when I look at the list.
Yeah.
The ones I sold, I remember. And the other ones, I'm like, what? I don't care what happened. It's all in the past.
Yeah. All in the past.
Water under the bridge. We have to keep on moving.
Yeah.
Okay. So you ready for a toast?
I am.
Me too. Today's
what a trip down memory lane.
What a very special trip down memory lane.
Though, that I'm like, man, I'm laughing about this now. I was so upset in a lot of those moments.
In those moments, you are upset. You're like, what have I decided to do with my life?
Yeah.
Like, this is the worst.
Right.
There's nothing worse than having another person who depended on you to do something think it's your fault that it didn't get done.
Yeah.
It hurts. Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on. Okay, this toast is from Madison Bustamante. It's my best guess. She's going to toast to her mom, Debbie Bell. And she says, my mom joined me full-time in real estate less than 2 years ago. At the beginning of 2022, we started our own team, just the two of us.
Cute.
She referred me to your podcast, and I have been hooked ever since. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her, honored to learn from her, and blessed to get to work with my best friend every day.
So the daughter was in real estate first?
It seems like it.
Yeah. That's neat.
Oh, and did I mention she's closed millions this year from Sphere and referral alone?
That's awesome.
She's never let relationships fade from her previous career, loves on her people so much, and always growing in her education. I'm so excited for our future together.
Well, no need to call expireds and withdrawns if you're taking care of your relationships.
She says, way to go, Mom. I love you.
That is the sweetest.
Let me tell you where Madison and her mama are, Debbie. They are in Arizona.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yes. I mean,
what a great toast for this episode.
Love it.
That's the business you want, people.
Right. Look, to be fair, I'm sure there's been someone from our database that was in this list.
And you are now not on the database. Okay.
This is how you got removed. Goodbye.
Right. Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hustle Humbly podcast. Let us know who we should toast to for the next episode.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hustle Humbly Podcast. If you have an episode, topic, or question, please email us at hustlehumblypodcast@gmail.com.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. See you next week. Bye.
This is the good life.